Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Progress Pondcast. This is episode 27 with Martin Longman and me, Brendan Squire. It's been a minute since we've talked to you. Lots of news has happened over the past few days and month. Obviously, we're going to get to the big news, which is the Charlie Kirk assassination. But there's some other stuff that was going on, kind of behind the scenes, stuff that people weren't paying attention to as much. So I'd like to basically jump into our podcast. How you doing today, Marty?
I'm doing well, Brendan. How are you?
I am doing good. Like I said, I've been watching the Charlie Kirk thing unfold, but there was something that I noticed that went down, and you obviously being more up on Senate procedures and that kind of stuff. I think you are the best person to talk about what went down effectively with the filibuster or something like it in the Senate just the other day.
Yeah, so the thing that happened was during the day after Kirk was killed, the Senate changed the rules again in order to get around the filibuster some more.
Hmm.
And of course, no attention was paid to this.
Wait a
Really.
minute. I thought the filibuster needed to be protected because when you're in the minority, you may need it, so you need to protect it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I've always heard.
If you don't have the filibuster, then you're no different than the House, and what's the point?
Yeah.
Right. Um,
So who got
so
rid of it?
so we've had this whole situation where going back to the Obama administration, where the opposing party just obstructs as much as they can the administration being able to nominate, or I guess not to nominate, but to confirm people to their administration. Mitch McConnell was the initiator of this,
Yeah, I remember that.
the master of it. And eventually, Harry Reid got fed up and he invoked the nuclear option to make it so that you could uh, get nominees through um, without 60 votes. Um, and the Republicans acted as though he had committed treason. But we knew at the time that they would do the same thing in the same position.
Well, of course, we've been saying that for years.
Yeah. And so they destroyed the norms around um, having votes for well qualified people.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing to know about this. The very simple thing that you need to know is that there are thousands of people that get appointed to positions in the executive branch, and you can't have a vote on every single one of them. And so what they do is they package together all the non-controversial nominees to low-level things, and they will just like have a unanimous consent vote where all the senators, all 100 senators, will say, "Yeah, yeah, these people can be confirmed,"
Yeah, yeah.
and that's, I mean, it's a necessity, right? Even if the minority party wants to be difficult, they can't be difficult for thousands of votes.
Yeah, yeah.
So So what the Democrats have done is they've been so upset with the criminality of the Bush administration, the firing of people,
You mean
all
the
through.
Trump administration, or are you going back to the Bush people now?
Did I say Bush?
You did say Bush.
You
Remember when
know,
he was the worst president ever?
I do, and he's still the second worst.
He is the second worst.
Yeah,
Wait, does that make Warren Harding number three now, or is he four under Nixon?
man,
Let's just take
that guy's so far in the distance from one
yeah,
and two.
but let's take a quick break. I want to. We'll come back in a quick second. I really just for a second, I want to go down the list of shitty presidents. Trump obviously now has the number one shittiest president ever, right?
Yeah,
You're going with Bush's number two.
sure.
Um, is
I
Reagan
got
in
it.
there?
No, I got to
No,
go with
I don't think so
I
either.
got to go with James Buchanan.
James Buchanan. Yeah, let the Civil
A-
War happen, right?
Yeah, Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, Andrew Johnson. Four? Yeah, I
Yeah.
would go with him. I would go with him by destroying Reconstruction. Then we got Nixon. I
He's
think
pretty
Nixon was
bad.
worse than Harding. I think Nixon was worse than Harding.
Um, I think Nixon had more redeeming qualities than Harding, but and I only mean that in the sense that he was um, effective in certain elements of his presidency, foreign policy, much of which I deeply disagree with, but um, he was competent.
I'll
So
give you
I
that.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything nice about Nixon, but Warren Harding was pretty bad.
He was pretty shitty. Anyway, let's get back to the real shitty President Trump there. Getting tired, Democrats getting tired of the criminality of the appointees.
Yeah, well, not just yeah, that is okay. So he's been appointing a lot of unqualified people and criminals and soon to be criminals. But he also the whole Doge thing, the not spending money that's been appropriated, the foreign aid thing, all this stuff has caused the Democrats to throw up opposition to these unanimous votes for lower level people, and
And with
so
good reason.
yeah, I mean it's a way of protesting. The Republicans finally got fed up, and they said you only need 50 votes to introduce these packages of supposedly non-controversial nominees. But of course, now you can throw controversial nominees in there.
Yeah, because it only requires 50.
Yeah. So what it means is that you can have one vote to confirm dozens of people all at once, and that way they can speed it through. Now, as I said, Harry Reid already made it, so you could, if you want to spend the time, you only needed 50 votes to do them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is what it is. It's just a further. There's an element of hypocrisy here,
Oh, of course there is.
and
When is there
there's
not?
yeah, it's a sign of how broken the Senate is. Um, but and it's the nuclear option because what you're doing is you're breaking the rules to change the rules.
Yeah.
So it also undermines the very idea that there are rules. Every time someone invokes a nuclear option, it's a violation of the rules. So, um, so there's that, and it's not the end of the world, but it is just something rather significant that happened while no one was watching.
Yes, while no one was watching, because
Yeah.
everybody's watching what we're going to be talking about probably for the rest of the episode, and that is going to be the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, noted right-wing provocateur, and I don't know. I would say he would incite. I wouldn't so much call him a speaker as someone who engages more in propaganda and incitement. But I guess he's still a speaker because it comes out of his mouth.
Well, I think the most significant thing about him was his organizing skill.
Yep.
So he created Turning Points USA, which was an organization that tried to uh, boost conservatism in academia by, I don't know, creating organizations for conservatives on campus to
And he was wildly successful at that. I think I read that there was how many people were at the event where he got shot?
I heard there were 3,000.
That's what I heard. It was like 3,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Now, a lot of those people were there to question him, to challenge him.
Sure, of
It
course, but
wasn't
still.
well, it just wanted to be clear that the name of these things was Prove Me Wrong.
Yeah, I know.
So he would sit under a tent and he would invite questions, hopefully from non-supporters.
Well,
And
that was his whole MO was get into an argument,
yeah,
get into an argument, um, try to get people angry, and then I was just listening to a podcast last night about this, and I'll get back to it. But then he would selectively edit these videos because frequently he would get absolutely destroyed by the people he was talking to, but he would cut it up so it looked like he had like the upper hand.
Sure.
I've seen videos of like from alternate angles, and it's like, oh, dude, you got your ass handed to you, you fool. But
Right.
anyway, keep going. You were saying,
So that was one part of it, his personal appearances.
yeah.
And he was a podcaster and all of that, and an influencer and a friend of the president and a friend of the vice president and an important cog in the get out the vote efforts for the Republicans, and just a very, I guess he's 31 years old. He's very successful
Oh yeah, he got started at around 16. He was
and wealthy. He got very wealthy doing this too.
oh, he very much did. I think he was worth something like $31 million, maybe even more.
Wow.
I forget what I read. I was just looking at it this morning. I was like, holy moly, you're a very well off man. Yeah, he got paid well from a very early age to spread hate, and to gin up people, and of course get ginning up hate in a conservative direction. I think I actually read somewhere that Trump credited TPUSA in part with helping him win the election back in 2016.
And I would say 2024 also, there's even more. I mean, it's hard to say what is due to Charlie Kirk and what is just the mood of the
Yeah,
country and all of that. But if you just look at young people, they moved sharply to Trump in 2024 in a way they did not in 2016. Right.
yeah.
So if you were looking at effectiveness, I think he would get even more credit for his second election than his first.
Hi, folks. It's Brendan. Thanks for listening to the Progress Pondcast. If you like what you hear, we'd love your support. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is great, but the best way to keep us afloat? That's through a monthly donation, as little as $5 a month through Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com Progress Pondcast. Don't forget that N when you're typing that out. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate all your help.
Just saying. So, I mean, when you talk about him, he was important electorally to the Republican Party,
Yep.
and he was uh, through his organizing giving a space for conservatives on campus to who maybe feel outnumbered, maybe people have a condescending attitude towards their beliefs, stuff like that. It gave them a space to be amongst each other, and so you know how that is.
Yep.
It's important.
But I'm gonna jump in here on. I understand that he gave them a space, but I just want to make sure we're clear here. The kind of space that Charlie was making available was a space for misogynists, for white supremacists, for Christian nationalists, for racists, for anti-trans people. I'm not and anti-gay people. I'm not going to call them transphobes or homophobes like like Morgan Freeman said. You're not afraid of anything. You're just a fucking asshole. That's the kind of space he was providing. Anti-immigrant, far right. He was a shitty person. I'm
And
sorry.
I think
I'm not gonna. I think that's important to acknowledge, even while agreeing that political assassination is a bad thing that people shouldn't do, and that it was wrong to murder him. But when we talk about the space that he was providing, that's the space he was providing.
I think also it changed over time. I think we were looking at this podcast that Mike Nellis and Joe Walsh do,
Yeah,
and they had a recent episode on this whole subject. And Joe Walsh apparently was very close to Charlie Kirk back when he was a congressman from Illinois.
yeah. When he was still a Republican and was
Yeah,
engaging in the same kind of invective.
he was. Yeah, he was.
As you may remember, Joe Walsh was known as one of the worst of the worst back in the 2000s, the Bush years, in terms of what
Uh,
he was saying on talk radio.
yeah, just in the press and everything. I mean,
Yeah,
he was a terrible a person, but he became an anti-Trumper and now considers himself a Democrat.
he doesn't just consider himself a Democrat. He's joined the Democratic Party.
Okay, I mean,
He
let's
has
give him.
he's absolutely
All right.
joined the
So
Democratic.
let's
He
just
is
say
one of the
it.
few.
He is a Democrat.
Yes, he is one of the few anti-Trump people that is actually walking the walk and is
Okay.
trying to make things better and knows what he did and is trying to make it right.
All right.
And joining the Democratic Party is a big way of fucking showing that.
Okay. So
But
uh,
anyway, digress.
he talked about how Charlie Kirk helped get him elected to Congress, in
He
his
did
opinion, and he talked about how he came to abhor. He used that word over and over again.
over and
Abhor
over again.
what everything Charlie was saying and talking about, and so I think there's a pre-Trump and a post-Trump Charlie Kirk. And I think the original Charlie Kirk was bad enough, um,
Oh yeah.
which was part of this whole thing that the liberal colleges and institutions are the enemy of conservatism, and let's go after professors, and let's attack and
I'm
all of
glad you
that.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's one thing that has really been upsetting me about the coverage of of Kirk's death, especially in the editorializing and the opinion areas of the newspaper, is there has seemed to be a refusal to reckon with what he was doing. I mean, I keep hearing even those guys on that podcast, Nellis and Walsh, there kept talking about how he was. Well, no, actually, Walsh actually backtracked and corrected himself. There was all this stuff about how he's having conversations. Ezra Klein did this thing, and you wrote about it a bit about how he was doing the politics the right way, and he was engaging in conversations with people, and maybe they were ugly conversations. But one thing Walsh pointed out was that when you have an audience of 3,000, that's not a conversation. That's a that's something else. It's a speaking event, but it's not exactly a conversation. But beyond the political speech, I think it's important to remember that that is also something that Kirk was involved in. He was involved in doxing people. He was involved in getting professors put on lists to harass them and get them fired from their jobs.
Yes.
And we keep talking about, oh, political speech, political speech. It's terrible that he got killed for his political speech. And it is terrible that he got killed for his political speech. But how is fucking Charlie Kirk some kind of martyr to free speech when he's busy making it so others can't speak? Right? Big problem with that.
Yeah, yeah. So even if there's a pre and a post Charlie Kirk, pre Trump, post Trump Charlie Kirk, even the pre Trump Charlie Kirk was bad enough, but after Trump, you get this whole move towards uh, overt racism. Um, you know, one of his constant things is that minorities are be giving positions that white people should have, that he wouldn't trust a black pilot.
Yeah, I was
There
gonna.
shouldn't be a black pilot. He's only there because he's black, and he wouldn't trust them. And
He said even worse stuff about black women. Oh my God.
he's constantly talking about how black women don't have the intellectual capacity to do this, that, or the other thing. Um, and you know, the funny thing about it is, despite his taking on this whole mantle of white nationalism, the really serious white nationalists never thought he was hard enough.
No, absolutely
Um,
not.
yeah, and so Nick Fuentes, who's a out and out like neo-Nazi white nationalist,
Yep.
he attacked Charlie Kirk relentlessly. Laura Loomer has been attacking him relentlessly.
And I want to jump in on that because apparently Laura Loomer went back and deleted tons of her tweets
Yeah.
referring to Charlie Kirk. And someone on Blue Sky I forget the account, posted a split screen of of
Fuentes.
what's his the fuck there? Yeah, Fuentes back
Yeah.
in August, and he's like basically Charlie Kirk is the devil. He's the worst thing in the world. He's not a Christian. He's not. And then in September
Yeah.
2025, after Charlie gets shot, he's like, Charlie was on the campus spreading the word of God when he got shot. I watched it. It was hilarious. He was
Yeah.
such a Christian spreading Jesus's words.
Yeah. Exactly contradicting himself. Like weeks later. And I think
The guy who posted it had something comment. Fuentes knows he's a groiper.
yeah, right. And Groyper being Fuentes's group of white nationalists.
Yeah,
And they use that Pepe the Frog guy.
yeah,
And there's actually a thing from what's his name? Ty Robinson. Uh, what's
is
his
that the
full name?
killer? Who are you talking
The
about?
the assassin.
Yeah, Tyler
Yeah,
Robinson.
Tyler. He his mother has Facebook, and she had a picture of him from recent Halloween, and she wrote, he's a meme from the internet. Well,
Yes.
the meme was this Groyper frog.
Yep.
And I mean, pretty clearly, in my opinion, that's what he was dressed as. And he's wearing like the same Adidas tracksuit as the frog and
Yep.
everything. And
Groiper Gopnik.
he's posing in the same squatting position as the
Yep.
frog. And so here he is a few years ago, dressing up as a groiper. And I think Fuentes got wind of this real quick. And he was like, oh shit, this is all going to get tagged on me.
Yep.
And the right is so furious about
Oh,
this.
they're
They're
livid.
they're lowering the flags.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I have some things to say
There's
about
I
that.
think Nancy Mace is introducing a bill to build a statue to him to, I don't know, put in the Hall of Congress or something.
Yeah, I saw
Th-
that. And speaking of Nancy Mace and split screens, did you see the split from her? The day of the day of the assassination, she's like, the rabbit, the trans Antifa thugs killed him. You own this, Democrats, liberals, war. Blah, blah. And then the very next day, when it turned out that, the guy might have been one of theirs, she's like, I'm sure Charlie Kirk would have wanted us to pray for a lost soul like Tyler Robinson.
yeah, help him find Jesus.
My God, the amount of bullshit that these people fucking are mainlining is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their blood must literally run brown.
Yeah.
Anyhow. But yeah, they're lowering the flags. Um, what's your face? And it's not just conservatives doing that either. Our own governor, Josh Shapiro, who wasn't he firebombed on
They
wasn't
lit
his
his
house?
house on fire.
Yeah, was that on Passover? Was that on a Jewish holiday or was that on Thanksgiving? I forget what it was. But yeah, someone fucking firebombed his house,
Yep.
right?
Well, they
And
set it on fire. I don't know if they firebombed it. They set it on fire.
they said no, I read it was Molotov cocktails, dude.
Okay.
Someone threw Molotov cocktails at him at the house. I was refreshing on it. And
Yeah.
he's out there like lowering the flag for this guy. And like, look, I get it. I get it. He's dead. It's not good to celebrate the guy's dead. And it's a political assassination is terrible. Um, and there is too much of it going on, and it's never good. It's never good. But what the fuck are you, a Jewish man, a man who stands for, who openly says that he's going to protect women and minorities in the state to the best that he can from the Trump assault, and he's going to protect gay people and transgender people? Like, I get it, Josh Shapiro. You should come out and be like, oh yeah, this is political assassination is never right. Da 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 da. We all got to cool it down. But you do not have to honor that person by lowering the flag like that at
No.
all.
No.
If Nancy Mace and wants to lower her flag, fine. If the Trump White House wants to lower their flag for that asshole, I don't agree, obviously, but go ahead. But if you're going to claim to stand for what you claim to stand for, Josh Shapiro, you don't go lower in that flag. That
I
kid
think,
he wasn't even in governance. He never even served in the army or anything like that. He's just a civilian. He got rejected from military school. What do you, I mean?
I think a
He's just,
lot of this
it's like if
is
I got, it's like the same thing. If I got shot for saying the stuff that we say on our little podcast here, if someone shot me, I wouldn't expect someone to lower the flag for me at all. Be like, yeah,
no,
geez, it's sad that he's dead, but I'm not expecting a fucking flag lowered for me.
no. I, I don't really care, but I completely agree with you.
I care. I
I
care.
mean,
It's the signal it sends.
yeah,
I got a trans kid. The signal it sends to me is like, fuck you. My support for you and people in your family is fungible.
I got you. Yeah, I can totally see that for sure. Uh, when I said that, I meant that like there's just a whole bunch of other stuff I care about
Oh
more.
yeah, I got that too.
That's really what I meant. I think when you're talking about Ezra Klein, he had this piece in the New York Times where I thought it was actually a pretty good piece.
Yeah,
Um,
you came to far different conclusions than I did about that. You had a lot more grace for Ezra than I did.
well, he got a ton of blowback, and I think it was all because of really one paragraph that he wrote. And in within that paragraph, he wrote that Charlie Kirk had been practicing politics in exactly the right way. I think that's the correct quote. And uh, what he meant by that was that he was going onto these campuses and engaging in discussion and debate. Um, and he feels like the two sides in this country need to debate rather than commit acts of violence against each other or just yell at each other or whatever. And in the larger point of what he was saying, he was correct. The problem is so much. First of all, we already talked about these back and forth prove me wrong things were sketchy as quality debate. But even if we grant that, there was so much more that Charlie Kirk was doing
Yes.
in his organizing, attacking professors, um, uh, going after transgender stuff, the racist things he was saying about immigrants and black women and black, and black criminality and just kind of a relentless assholery
Yeah.
that was not elevating the conversation in this country at all. That was completely contributing to the fact that people just wanted to yell at him.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
they didn't want to debate him.
And
And
I'll add to that that when you debate someone, you may have debate is about you don't get to come to a debate with completely different facts that are not facts. It is one thing to debate is is carbon dioxide causing climate change? There
sure.
is different opinions about the science.
Yeah.
But are black people inferior to white people is not a debate. That's not a debate. That's polemic.
Right.
That's propaganda. He's not looking for a debate on that. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
when one side you can't have a debate over over vaccines when one side is saying vaccines don't work, inject ivermectin, and the other side is saying like no, actually, stuff that's been proven for years, decades is my position. You
Right.
can't debate phlogiston. It's not real. So I further question Klein's concept of debate because that's not again, it's not debate.
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at it,
Did the Holocaust happen? That's not debate.
when you do a thing that's called prove me wrong, and then you invite people to come up and ask you questions, that is like a form of debate, like challenge me. I'm going to try to defend my position, but it's all performative,
Mm-hmm.
and the only reason it kind of works is because you've enraged people enough to want to stand up and tell you you're wrong, and you've enraged them not by taking some position that they oppose. You've enraged them by being an asshole who lies.
Yes.
And so I think even if you just focused on that, I mean, you could criticize Klein for saying he was engaged in the right way, but at least you can say the guy would show up on a campus and have a conversation, whether that conversation was shitty or not. It was more than just firing bombs off from your podcast or something. But I mean, he gave the opportunity for other people to talk back to him, so that's something. But but
Yeah. And then after what they said, if he didn't like what they said, he selectively edited so he looked like he won.
yeah, yeah, sure. But I think the bigger problem is that you can't isolate what he did in the bigger picture, like what he was politically.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
can't narrow that down to just his little campus tours.
Yeah, you can't. And a
You
lot of
know.
people are doing that.
Now, I think one of the reasons people are doing that is because that's what he was doing at the moment he died. Okay, so he's like killed for that, right? At least it's seemingly, right? Like, so I think that's Klein's mistake, perhaps. Like, but his greater point was that um, because it looks like he was silenced because he at that moment he was engaged in a conversation. Like, it feels like that's the only reason he was a target, and I don't think that he was a target because of his college tour, and I also don't think that what was problematic about him was primarily it had anything to do with his campus tour,
Yeah. No.
right? So um, the problem is, like as I put it in my piece, the problem with Klein is what he said is misleading more so than that it's just out and out wrong. It's it's just not understanding the broader context of
That's yep.
why did so many decent people, like in my mind, decent normal people, um, kind of shrug their shoulders when he got killed. Oh,
Yeah, I know. Yep.
I'm not sad,
Yeah,
right? Like,
I'm not, I mean, I'm not celebrating the guy's death, but like I don't feel sad that he's dead. I really don't feel anything. If anything, I mean, like, look, because of the stuff that he was saying, and people like him were saying, you know, my child, who I've said before, is a dual citizen of the U.S. and Canada and is transgender, will not come to the United States for the foreseeable future because she does not feel safe here. And one of the reasons she doesn't feel safe here is because of people like Charlie Kirk and the people who listen to him and are indoctrinated by him, were indoctrinated by him.
and I think on that subject, it's important to note what the conversation was at the moment he died, because
Why I brought it up.
the person who was talking to him had been upset that transgender people have been involved in some mass shootings, but he felt like they were being demonized by the right and by Charlie Kirk. And so he did some independent research to
Mm-hmm.
find out how many mass shootings were carried out by identifiably transgender people. And he came up with the number five. And then he was in the process of asking if Charlie Kirk knew how many mass shootings there had been overall.
And Charlie said, counting or not counting gang related.
Uh,
No, he said
yes.
two. First he said
He
he
said, "Do you
asked
know how
Charlie.
many?" He said, "Do you know how many transgender people have committed mass shootings?" And Charlie Kirk did not know the answer, so he said,
His answer was too many.
"Correct." And then follow-up question was, um, "Do you know how many mass shootings there's been overall?" And I think had there been no bullet, the conversation would have proceeded this way. Um, he would have told Charlie Kirk the answer, which is, I don't know, 15,000, 20,000, some
Yeah.
insane number of mass shootings. It depends, obviously, over what time period you're talking about. But so the point then he was going to make, I believe, after listening to the guy who was asking the questions, did a TikTok explaining what was going on. And I think he was going to make the point that transgender are a certain small percentage of the population, and that as a mass shooting percentage, it would be like similar or even smaller percentage of,
Yep.
so what you would expect, I guess, or even less than what you would expect. And so he was challenging Charlie Kirk in the sense what he was trying to do was make the point that you're demonizing transgender people by saying there's some kind of uniquely violent and danger to the public. And the
And
public,
let's while
and
we're saying this, a part of in
yeah,
the in I want to add a little bit of context, and that is that the Trump administration is currently considering and announced last week, I think, that they are considering banning transgender people from owning guns. That's been in the news.
okay.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, so then what's going on then is you're putting fear into the public of transgender people that they may be violent, uniquely violent, and um, this comes on the tails of years of saying they're going to groom your children, turn your children transgender, which also makes people afraid.
Yeah.
And so this kind of demonization to a very probably I consider them probably the most vulnerable population in the country.
Can I just break in about on something about being the parent of someone who's transgender?
Sure.
Now, you know, I consider myself a pretty average guy. People, I know a lot of people are different from me though. I've always been really open and accepting of gay people. I think when I was 16, I was friends with someone who turned out to be gay, and like, okay, well, whatever. So it's never really been an issue for me. I have friends my age who have admitted to me that it was once that when we were teenagers, it was an issue for them that people were gay, but then they grew out of it. Obviously, they went to college, they became adults, they met gay people, and I like to think that now in 21st century America, well, look, we came so freaking far. Same-sex marriage, right? Gay people are presented on television and mass media as normal human beings, like they are, right?
Right.
So
Moral people.
moral people.
Yeah.
And I have had a couple of people, well-meaning people, sometimes older than me, sometimes my age, when they learn that my child is transgender, and she transitioned. I think she came out to me that she was going to transition. Probably, I want to say, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. I forget. Either way, and I think she had an easier time coming out to me when she told me she was gay or bi. I forget which. That's how accepting I am of this. It doesn't bother me. And I think she was actually kind of a little nervous about coming out about being transgender. But when people ask me like, "Oh my God," they have that tone like, "Oh my God, what was that like?" Was that hard for you? And I'm like, "No, not really." You know, because it's my kid, and she's not any different inside. She looks different on the outside, but she still, my God, my kid is my kid. What, no matter what gender they identify as. But I don't get this. I just don't get this fear of transgender people, or that, oh my God, my kid might be transgender. Like, to anybody listening out there that's worried that their kid is going to be transgender, or scared of that kind of stuff, don't be. Don't be. A transgender person is just like a moral human being, just like you or me. So anyway, I just wanted to interject about that, because
It's important.
that whole fear and misunderstanding of transgender people, you know, there was once a time when I think you could use the word homophobe, and actually it would refer to people that were like in the 80s or early 90s that were like, holy shit, this gay thing, I don't know about this. But we've grown out of that, and now it's like we've evolved out of that, most of us, and
Yeah,
now it's
the culture's completely changed
this
from when
culture's
we
changed,
were.
and so now it's very much that when I hear homophobe, it's like I said earlier in the podcast, you're not afraid of anything, you're just an asshole. I can grasp, even though I don't like to, that transphobia may still be a thing. But I am very much looking forward to the idea, to the time when saying that someone is transphobic is no, you're not phobic. You're just an asshole. It's coming. That's why these right wingers are fighting back so hard. That's why they're hating so much. But anyway, back to Kirk the jerk.
Well, and so yeah, at the moment that he died, he was arguing or about to argue that trans people are dangerous,
Yes.
and he was being challenged on it, and he was going to prove this guy wrong, that his statistics that he researched, he was going to prove him wrong. And um he also, at the moment of his death, was asked about how many mass shootings there are, and he said, well, gang members are not gang members.
Yes.
And that was literally the last thing he
Those are the
said.
last word. Yep.
And my interpretation of what that meant was, well, we're talking about mass shooters, but let's not include gang members, which are predominantly in this day and age not Italians and Irish people. They are, or Jewish gangs. They're predominantly Latino and black, right?
Yep.
So in his mind and his audience's mind, gang members are people of color, and we want to separate them out, right? And they don't count.
Yeah.
Even when they're doing something horrible, they don't count.
I know.
Right? Like, um,
He's such a horrible person.
yeah. And so whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
the point here is we don't know why this guy killed him. And there's some evidence that he was into Groyper and maybe Nick Fuentes' kind of ideology. There's some evidence that maybe he maybe he was a little different than his parents. People point to his parents being Republicans, and plenty of people have Republican parents aren't Republican.
You know what I
Um,
think?
I think people want to leap and insist that they know and they don't. Um,
This
there's,
is what I this is what I think. It's not what I know. It's
yeah,
what I think. I don't think the guy was necessarily a groyper. I don't know how organized the groypers are. I'm not that knowledgeable about their shit. Do they go to a groyper clubhouse and hang out with other groypers? Do they have groyper meetups and shit like that? I have no idea. Is
I
there
don't
like
know. I mean,
is it like evil Boy Scouts where you get like where you're initiated into, or like evil Masons where you get initiated into this? Or is it like just like a common group of people that know each other? Right?
well,
That's so I
listen.
don't
If you're listening to Nick Fuentes' podcast, if you're a fan of his, you're a groyper.
all
But
right.
then there's
So,
also all these like neo-Nazi groups, three percenter groups,
yeah, yeah.
all these
So
different that are organized.
so let me continue real quick. I'm going to assume, even though I don't like to assume, makes an ass out of you and me, that our boy Tyler here, I'm going to guess that he was a little mentally unwell. I don't think that mentally well people murder people. I think we're probably agreed on that. Generally, mentally well people don't murder people. If you're murdering someone, maybe you are at the moment mentally unwell, overcome with rage or something. But in
Yeah, I
general, if you're
mean,
staking out someone to shoot them, unless you're in the mob, you're probably a little cuckoo. Something's going wrong upstairs.
he
And
could have gotten in line and challenged him like everybody
he
else.
could have gotten in line, challenged her up. And let's assume he was mentally unwell. And let's assume, considering his Halloween costume, his Peppy the Frog Halloween costume, that he was at least listening to the stuff that was coming out of people like Fuentes, etc. This is just an educated guess. He could very well have acted alone. He didn't, I don't think anybody told him, go go take care of Charlie Kirk. Please rid me of this meddlesome priest. But I think
Yeah, I
that
don't think there's been any evidence that
no,
it
I don't
was
think it's anything like
coordinated.
that. But I would not be surprised if a guy who is already teetering on the ledge could get himself into a state like where I have to do this because this guy is Kirk is destroying our movement, or this that is destroying our movement, even though he's really not part of any kind of movement. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I want to say? I think let me we're going to go into raw
Jodie
speculation,
Foster
but
told me to kill Ronald Reagan. You know?
I'm going to go into raw speculation to make a point about why you shouldn't go into raw speculation, okay?
Okay, do it.
Okay. So one of the things Fuentes was killing Charlie Kirk about in August,
Nice choice of words.
um, yeah, unintentional there, but uh, severely criticizing him for was that Charlie Kirk is what you call a Christian Zionist, and Nick Fuentes is an anti-Semitic neo-Nazi.
Yep.
So they don't see eye to eye on Israel whatsoever. And one of the big problems that Nick Fuentes has with Charlie Kirk is that he is so pro-Israel. So on his podcast, Nick Fuentes was arguing that Charlie Kirk isn't a good Christian in part because he doesn't care about the genocide in Gaza
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
all of these millions of people who are suffering.
Hey everyone, it's Brendan again. If you're like me, and I know I am, you enjoy getting an honest take on the news. That's why you listen to the Progress Pondcast. But I'm not just one of the hosts. I'm the guy behind the curtain doing the edits and cuts and everything else that keeps the podcast going. And I'm asking for your support on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you won't just help us grow our audience. You'll help update and maintain our equipment. Stuff like hard drives, microphones, and more. You can find us at patreon.com/Progress Pondcast. Don't forget that N when you search for us. Thanks again for your love and support. Over and out.
And
I'm just going to add, Nick Fuentes doesn't really care about those people in Gaza very much either. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think that that is a way for him to attack Jews. That is, there are
Yeah.
plenty of people who do care about the people in Gaza and criticize Israel and are not anti-Semitic, but Nick Fuentes
Mm-hmm.
is not one of those people.
Yes.
But nonetheless,
Just wanted to make that clear.
he was attacking Kirk for being indifferent to the suffering of mostly Muslim Palestinians. And a listener who was concerned about Gazans could have been inspired by that to take violence against Kirk, to commit
That's
murder against Kirk.
that was the kind
And
of point I was trying to make.
and then if we were to learn that, just theoretically, that he killed Kirk because of Gaza, would that be a left wing or a right wing? You wouldn't be able to know because you associate that with left wing people who support the Palestinian cause. But Fuentes is out here defending them just like left wingers for a completely different reason,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right? And so just knowing that, just knowing, oh, this is what caused him to do this, it's just theoretically, if that was what it was, that would not tell you if he
yeah.
was a left winger or a right winger. So people are complicated, and these issues are complicated. And everyone has their own political motivation for trying to put him in the other side's camp, but he probably doesn't belong strongly in either camp.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the left is right to push back, say, quit calling this guy a leftist.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well,
right,
yes,
yeah, because there's no evidence that he is.
none.
None.
And in fact, I'm there. I actually tend to agree with you that he's not one or the other. But from what I've seen, if you were to put this guy on a scale, that guy would weigh more towards the right.
All we know is he comes from a Republican family.
And he dresses up like a groiper for like Peppy the Frog for Halloween.
Yeah, but like 7 years ago or something, like I mean, he could have grown out of that. So I'm just saying, we don't know.
I don't know.
So the
We do
only
know he was.
evidence,
I think the New York Times reported that he was telling his family how much he hated Charlie Kirk.
right, but
He
we
had
don't know
a
why.
yeah.
We don't know why.
That's
And
true.
and there's another thing I saw, which was there was a article I think in the Guardian, UK Guardian, saying that they had talked to a friend who said that he was a left winger,
I think
and
they
then
didn't you just send me something
they
that
retracted
retracted it?
it
Yeah.
because in a follow-up interview with this guy, he apparently couldn't he apparently was unconvincing that he actually knew him, or right. So like he said he was his friend or whatever, but like he couldn't explain how he was his friend or where he met or anything. And so they retracted the story, but it's out there now. Just like the Wall Street Journal said that the bullet
Fuck those guys.
casings the bullet casings had transgender, anti-transgender, no, that
No, it had
they had
pro trans
a
slogans
transgender
on them.
ideology,
That's what it was.
transgender ideology, anti-fascist and transgender ideology is what the uh it actually came from like a ATF bulletin, like internal bulletin or something like that, that was circulating, and Wall Street Journal was reporting on it. Um, and I think the only thing that could be interpreted as related to transgender at all was the bullet casing about furries, where oh, I noticed your bulge. What's that?
Was
Um,
that what that was about? Was that a reference to furries?
apparently, don't ask me how, but apparently it's like a inside internet meme that has been around for a decade or more. And it's nonsense brain rot type of stuff, but it's probably related to furries and not anything else. I don't know. But he had this, if you're reading this, you're gay on one of the bullets
Yep.
casings. What does that mean? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, apparently he was like big into gaming. And I forget the game that he was all big on, but like that the arrows that were on
Yeah,
one of the bullets, that's related to this online game that he was into. And I think same with the Bella Ciao that was on there, which is an anti-fascist anthem,
yeah.
dating back to World War II. Um, but that is also the soundtrack in that one of the soundtracks in that game, and I think the game is about like the something
Living
about
under a fascist
and
dictatorship
you're like
and
people from another yeah
fighting on behalf of the fascist dictatorship.
something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't play. I'm not terminally online, man. I'm so glad I go out and touch grass. I'm
Yeah.
so glad. I am so glad that. Uh, I told you a while ago that I stopped using Facebook, and that I did a little experiment during the pandemic. I stopped using it just to see what would happen when they didn't get any feedback from the algorithm. And what Facebook did is the algorithm looked at my profile that I'm a white middle-aged male who likes country music, and it started sending me all this crazy and crazier anti-woke weird ass. They would send me Charlie Kirk stuff constantly,
Yeah.
constantly. And like, I finally like, I was just like, oh my, and like now, like when I look, I still have to use Facebook sometimes, but I look at it for 2 seconds. I'm like, this is all fucking wacko,
Yep.
wacko, and I just get off. It is, kids, if you're listening, get off the fucking internet. It's bad for your brain.
Here's another thing that's supposedly bad for you going to college because uh, now that they found out that this guy may be, well, they know that he's from a Republican family.
By
They
the
know
way, I need to, when
that.
you get done with this, I need to add something about the circumstances of Chuck's death. So keep going. Sorry.
So now that they've learned that he's from a Republican family, they say, well, this is what happens when you go to college. You get indoctrinated. You get they destroy the good values that you got from your family with this left wing anti fascist nonsense. And this is just there. Every single thing you see on Twitter is some Republican making this argument to keep him on the left. And I just want to point out that the young man was an excellent student in high school and got a scholarship uh, that was worth a good amount of money. And he used that to go to Utah State. But he went there for one semester during the pandemic when there were no classes in person. And so perhaps from his remote Zoom semester at Utah State, his solid Christian or Mormon upbringing was completely undermined.
In 1 month
Well, three
online.
months, 3 months, I guess. But he dropped out after one semester, so
Mess. All right.
he
So,
uh he clearly didn't like it.
so I have two things to add to that,
Yeah.
I guess. In terms of the look at what happens when they go to college. They get indoctrinated and then they become, Antifa murderous thugs.
Yeah.
This is one of the problems I had with Klein and with Nellis and
Ezra.
Walsh and so many voices that are discussing this. And it is everybody needs to cool down. The violence on both sides has to stop. And I agree that there should not be violence on either side. And it is deplorable when people on the left are violent and when people on the right are violent. But I'm going to make the same observation that Joe Walsh made later in the show. It is the fact that when you look at the incidents, who is committing the violence? There are definitely some left wingers committing the violence, but the vast majority, and this is backed up by research, comes from the right. The right is much more engaged in political violence than the left. So this whole, that argument that they're indoctrinated and then they get violent is because they got exposed to left wing stuff. To me, just does not hold water for me. It just simply does not. I mean, because the numbers don't lie. That's number one. And that false equivalency always pisses me off. Number two, let's talk about Utah State real quick. Let's talk about Utah for a quick second. Let's talk about that. Because the way I see it, when I think about it, it's actually the Republicans' fault. The Republicans' fault in the bigger sense that Charlie Kirk was ever in this position to begin with. And that it is a Republicans' fault that this killer was allowed to do what he did. They could have made it a lot harder. I don't know if you know this, but Utah has the most lax gun laws in the entire country. They have a grade of F from the Brady Center for Gun Violence. And either last year or maybe earlier this year, I'd have to look it up, but it was quite recently, that the Utah State Legislature relaxed gun laws even further and not only said that you could open carry and conceal carry on college campuses, they passed legislation saying that universities and colleges cannot ban guns on their premises. So, you had a inciting controversial character come to Utah for an audience of 3,000. Now, I saw some people saying online in articles about this that security at the event was lax too.
Oh yeah.
One woman said that she got in, nobody searched her backpack or anything.
There was
But
no scanning for guns
but
because
you sent a controversial figure who is known for making people angry and polarizing people and causing reactions. You sent him to a state and a campus where people can carry guns freely, where it is easy as pie to get a gun.
and then you
They
did no
said
security.
it was basically Charlie Kirk was actually speaking in Charlie Kirk heaven. He's huge, we've all seen the quotes going around how the worthwhile cost of preserving our Second Amendment. I'm paraphrasing here is that we got to tolerate mass shootings, right?
Kirk said that.
Kirk said that
Yeah.
absolutely, and he has said, that's among other things he said. He said, he actually mocked though that the people grieving after that Christian school in Nashville got shot up, and he certainly mocked the Miss Hortman and her family in Minnesota when they got shot.
And he mocked Pelosi
He mocked
when he
Pelosi,
was
but
intruder came in and beat her husband with a hammer.
that all that aside, Charlie Kirk is very much part of his perspective is the Second Amendment is sacrosanct, and there should be as little obstacles to getting your hands on a gun as possible. He was in Charlie Kirk heaven, and that Charlie Kirk heaven was set up by the Republican Party in Utah. They literally created the circumstances in which this happened. Now, could that assassination have happened in Massachusetts or Pennsylvania or other state or New Jersey where they have stronger gun control laws? Maybe,
Oh
maybe
well, I
not.
mean,
But in Utah,
I want to make
it was uniquely possible to do this.
and I want to be fair and balanced here, because
Go ahead.
I'm on the left and I do that.
Yep. The definition of a liberal is someone that won't take their own side in an argument.
I think the thing that proves your case is actually a hypothetical that's different,
Okay.
which is that because they have the right to carry concealed weapons on campus and because they had no security, someone in the first row could have done this.
Oh yeah. Anybody could have
Okay.
done it.
Um, with ease. Now, this guy used a classic hunting rifle that is not an assault weapon. It's not a gun that anybody has ever seriously talked about banning. Um,
Hunting rifle.
yeah, it's a 30-06 hunting rifle. Um, I think use to take down elk and things. Um,
The one or two times I've gone to a range, I shot a 30-06. Got a nice kick.
so in from that perspective, like the assault weapons ban wouldn't have done anything. The guy's, a couple football fields away. So, you know, obviously security at the venue itself was going to be ineffective. So from that perspective, yeah, it could have happened in New Jersey, it could have happened in Massachusetts, it could have happened anywhere. But that doesn't change the fact that it could have happened in the front row with a handgun
Mm-hmm.
because they took no measures for security, either in the law or at the venue.
Yep.
And that's a cultural thing. And in their defense, it's a college campus. It's you're not expecting this. Maybe they're going to expect it now, but I'm not going to kill them for not having the type of security that they should have had because it was an event that we haven't seen before. But um, but it is also fair to say, hey, we have a violent society, a polarized society. We have politicians being murdered on both sides of the aisle. We have political figures, at least, on both sides of the aisle, and we need to make it harder. To me, the bigger problem is still these weapons that can mow down dozens of people in seconds.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that is, there's just nothing to defend against that. And uh, that to me is, there's just no justification for that. There's a reason for people to have a 30-06 rifle.
yeah, of course.
Uh, and
I just wanted to point. I just wanted to jump in there that nobody could have expected a shooting on a college campus. Um,
I didn't
that
say nobody could have expected it. It wasn't expected. It isn't something we've seen before, and like this.
maybe not
We've
like
had like
that.
Virginia Tech.
I'm
We've
talking
seen,
Virginia
yeah,
Tech. I'm
yeah.
talking just last November, University of Louisiana. Just last November, Tuskegee University. I'm looking at Wikipedia. Tuskegee University, man opened fire on campus.
Yeah.
Two people, others killed when gunfire broke out near University of Louisiana after a football game. You know, and of course Virginia Tech, and there have been October 2024. Nobody got injured, but there was a shooting at North Carolina Central University. So these are not entirely unknown. Let's put it that way.
Shootings are not unknown, but like targeted assassinations of guest speakers is a new
Okay,
thing.
that I will give you. It's been a long time since we've had one of those.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The whole thing for me actually was dispiriting. Uh, the day of. I think actually watching the footage of him being shot. I think I'm of two minds about it. I wouldn't. You can't unsee it.
Yeah, I saw it.
You can't.
I'm not sure what angle you saw. My drummer saw my drummer saw an angle apparently that was much more gruesome than what I saw.
I probably saw that. I watched the footage, the available footage. Some of it willingly, some of it just popping up on my social media without me asking for it.
That's awful.
Um,
I just saw the one where it's kind of like a front view of him and he's talking, all of a sudden you see him go back and to the side, back into the side, and then it looks like he's got a for a minute I thought it was a red tie. I watched it like I had to watch this clip. It was very short for like three times before I was like, "Oh my God, that's arterial blood. That's not good." But
yeah.
my drummer saw a different angle where it was just like just gushing out of him, and I'm glad I did not see that.
Well, so I'm of two minds of it. I mean, you can't unsee it,
Of
and
course not.
it's really disturbing. But at the same time, it's like there was this debate about the Sandy Hook shooting, where you had a classroom full of dismembered kids, and no one that as far as I know, that stuff has never been
It
released.
has never been released, and I've quite frankly, I've said that it should be released at some point because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, I heard people that went into that room describe it, and I obviously you're not going to release it because you need
Yeah,
the consent of all the parents and all
parents,
that.
it's just
But
horrible.
right, but the fact that people didn't see it makes it abstract. And
Very much.
I feel like the same thing is a little bit true here. I think that people who didn't see it probably were a little more how do I put this? People who did not like Charlie Kirk might have gone, "Oh, glad he's gone," you know. And I think if you actually watched it, you'd be less inclined to do that, even though that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
Well, because unlike Charlie Kirk, you have empathy. And Chuck there is on record as saying that he thinks empathy isn't real. He thinks it's a new age concept that has been deeply damaging to America. That's a nearly direct quote. But yeah, man, you have fucking empathy. Even I have a little empathy, and I hate the guy's guts. That's
you
no
know,
way to go.
it isn't just empathy for him. It's empathy for all the people that were there
Yes,
that witnessed
that
that.
witnessed it, that are fucked up from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because the whole country saw it, it's, I mean, not the whole country, but anybody who didn't actively try not to see it. Like, you know, it was traumatizing for the whole country.
Yeah,
And I also was, um, it's just a terrifying weapon. It's a terrifying weapon to see what it can do. Just boom.
and
And
that's just one bullet. That was a single
yeah,
bullet.
yeah. And you know, as soon as you saw it, you were like, "There's no way he's going to survive," and
Oh,
he
there
did.
was no way.
Yeah,
No way. I didn't even see the real gory shot, and I was just like, oh, he's dead. He's dead.
yeah. I mean, I knew at a minimum he was not going to ever recover like brain function or anything.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Same.
um, so then I saw, you know, the kind of I saw a lot of reaction of celebration would be too strong, but uh, indifference to, you know,
A lot of
to
FAFO.
yeah, say yeah, like too bad, you know, going on
Yeah.
with my day,
It was
type of
kind of
stuff.
me.
And it kind of dispirited me, you know, like it's like, look, we're getting to the point where we're so pissed off, we're so traumatized by what the right is doing that we're just numb to this at a minimum, and then go beyond that and be like, hey, glad that happened, you know. And even if you get to that point, it's like there's a reaction to this. I don't think anybody on the left is going to be happy about the reaction to this.
No. No.
It didn't win anything.
No, of
It
course
didn't
not.
didn't
But the
yeah,
but at this point, I'm kind of like I'm almost curious what the reaction is going to be. I mean, they can't. I mean, I know they're telling themselves this, that it's the right is telling themselves it was the left. But I took a look at the New York Times today, you know, and they had a big old opinion piece in there about what who Nick Fuentes is and who the Groypers are and what they represent, and that this guy was that our Tyler Robinson guy there was at the very least interested in that stuff. It is when that the Wall Street Journal is going to wind up being the outlier. They've already retracted as badly as they did their trans accusation, but I think it's more difficult to use Charlie Kirk now as a they'll figure out a way, of course, but
well,
it's
you
gonna.
saw what Walsh said in the Nellis Walsh show. He's like, look, they're convinced that the guy who murdered those people, politicians up in Minnesota, was a left winger.
I know they're telling themselves this.
And
It's
he
crazy.
had other examples.
Yep,
And so in this case, it there could be even stronger evidence that comes out. They could find a manifesto from this guy that makes it explicitly clear that he did this for right-wing reasons.
yep,
And it won't change the fact that the narrative will be hammered home. Some of it is that early reporting from the Wall Street Journal.
yep.
Some
I
of it is
know,
that Guardian article that was retracted.
I know.
Some of it, right?
And it's
But
all Russian because they're all rushing because it's like if it bleeds, it leads. You know,
sorry, it just
no
hit my
worries.
microphone there. So, you know, I don't mean to be pessimistic and everything, but certainly if this guy was an out and out leftist transgender activist or something like that, the fact that what they were accusing him of was true would give it more power. But they don't really care, and they have the ability to convince their side of whatever they want to convince them of. And in this case, I already mentioned the backdrop is, oh, well, he was radicalized at college, you know, and that was what Charlie Kirk was there to do, was to demonize universities and promote conservatism and go after professors that are not conservative. And so it's all consistent with his mission. I guess they're honoring his mission by doing this. But overall, this is a negative development. Um, and I think that anyone who's celebrating what happened because they don't like Charlie Kirk is ignoring a much greater context in which this is not good for anybody, and will not lead to a better place for anybody. Um, you know,
I will concede that, but at the same time, I will concede all of that, but I'm still not sad he's gone. Sorry. I realize that it's bad and that
let
it's one step in a worse direction, and there's going to be some horrible backlash at some point. But we're already in the middle of a horrible backlash, so it's just like more shit added to a shit pie. And
there's a lot of people in this country. Like, if I could snap my fingers and make them go away so that they would stop poisoning the mind of the public, like Steve Bannon, if I could just make it so, boom, he didn't
yep,
exist.
boom, gone.
But that's different than like actually
Bim
fucking
salabim.
yeah, yeah, like a genie, but like that's completely outside of reality. Like, because when you actually make a person not exist, that's completely an act of violence. and
Yep.
and and that so you can wish that somebody was stopped doing things and wish they weren't so goddamn influential and making people into worse people and making the country into a worse place. um and I think that's why a lot of people were like, well, geez, I'm glad he won't be around to do that shit anymore.
Yeah, no,
You know,
like I said in
but
our text exchange
that
earlier
is just
today.
such a
Yeah.
pinched view of what actually happened.
Well, like I was saying in our text earlier today is that nobody's mourning for no after Father Coughlin died and Joe McCarthy died, nobody had anything good to say about those guys. You
Well,
know,
it's different now because they
oh,
want to put
very
a
different. This is an
statue to this
assassination.
guy.
Yeah, I
They want
know.
to
Yeah,
put
they want to
a,
make a fucking statue to him on the right.
yeah.
Whew. I just meant in greater context. You know, after I am not surprised that there are people that are like, fuck it. Oh well,
Oh
you
no,
know.
no. I mean, because the guy was a provocateur, and he's made millions of dollars deliberately offending and pissing people off,
Yeah. Yep.
and spreading lies and making people into worse people, and making this a more polarized country, and also being very effective in helping the fascist regime take power and do horrible things. So from that perspective, like, you're not mourning him for who he was, or what he did, but it's assassinating people. It only makes sense in very dire situations. Which, okay, this we're in a dire situation, but it has to have some kind of effectiveness, and make things better in some way, advance something. And in this case, I'm not seeing it.
I honestly, if I think about it, I don't see how assassination has ever advanced anything good ever. And the
Well, I
assassination of
mean,
Archduke
okay,
Ferdinand did not lead anywhere good.
right,
The
but I mean,
assassination of Salvador Allende didn't didn't end up being very good.
listen, I mean, you can find example, like,
Yeah.
if they had succeeded in killing Hitler,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and would it have made things worse? Depends, I guess, on when it happened, but you know, generally speaking, it would be better if that guy had been taken out. Like, it depends, but uh, we're not we're not in that situation right now.
And Charlie Kirk isn't that guy.
No. I would just say, something that Mike Nellis said at the end of his show, which is that people people should not let the better side of their nature get subsumed in all of this.
I would
You
tend to
know,
agree with that. I would
uh,
tend to agree with that.
and that we need to keep our humanity, and that, I think, is the most important thing, because that guides you in whatever you want to do to make this place better. You know, you have to be coming from a good place to make it a better place. And I think people are getting lost. So that would be my message.
Yeah. Anyway, folks, somber note. This has been the 27th episode of the Progress Pondcast. If you want to support us, please listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, podcast, Screen, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of apps you can find us on. We're on YouTube, Amazon, all that other stuff. If you like what we're doing, please find us on patreon.com/ progress pond. A donation as little as, what is it, $5 a month or something like that?
Only $5.
Only $5 gets you our fine, helps us buy new equipment. And by the way, I need to get myself a new audio box pretty soon. I've noticed that the jacks on the back of mine are getting a little rusty. Mine did old as hell, folks.
And please mash the like and subscribe buttons when you listen to the podcast.
Music is always provided by the Royal Hounds from Nashville, Tennessee. They have a brand new album out, by the way, Live at Roberts. It is absolutely fantastic. You can find that on Apple Music and Spotify too. But on that note, we're going to let you go. Have a great week, month, whatever, and we will see you as soon as possible. Bye now, folks.
Over and out, folks.